Hello again. Welcome to another video from RiderCamTV. Mark's holding his pants and socks.
No pants, mate, just socks.
Oh, just socks?
Yeah.
You go commando,
Absolutely.
The reason we've got clothes and stuff strewn apart is because...
Strewn
around, yeah. Is because we now have a touring company called RiderCamTV Tours. RiderCamTVtours.com. And a few years ago, we did a video on what to pack and how to pack it, all that sort of thing, about going on a tour.
6 or 7 years ago now.
I don't know that it was that long, but it was a few years.
Right.
But whenever we go on tour with anybody or talk to anybody about touring, if they haven't done it or done it as a profession or done it regularly, people get very worried about what they should take and how they should take it. So we thought we'd run through it with a bit of an updated one, because even the stuff that we used to take back then, I still find myself taking too much stuff.
Yeah.
So it's always good to talk about what we take. So
I've got it down to a bit of a fine art now. I take the same thing for 3 weeks as I do for 10 days.
I do as well. And I've applied it across travelling anywhere for any reason. I've been to Vegas for 4 days and I took one small holdall. That's all I took. You know, on a tour, it depends on which bike I take. If I take Alvin, the RT, I've got masses of storage each side, and then the box that I've put on the top is about 20 litres. If I take Barney, I've only got 20 litres on each side. So you've really got to be economical with what you take on your tour. But there's different reasons for being economical, isn't there? Because there's no point taking everything. There's no point taking soaps and shower gels, because they're in every hotel you're in. This is if you're going on tours like we provide. You go into the hotel and they've always got them. You don't need towels. Because they're always in the hotel. You don't need them. A few rags and things perhaps to dry yourself or polish the bike and that sort of thing. But you don't need these big...
Polish your bike?
Do you not clean your bike when you're away? I do. I always take dry sparkle with me and clean it.
We use dry sparkle a lot.
On the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
It's great. So what do we think about going on tour? So what clothes do we take first, Mark?
Okay, so big issue is on my last tours this year, I've done the Alps, I've done the Austrian Swiss Alps, did the Arctic Circle, I did the NC 500 around the top of Scotland. And I had people from America and Canada on those tours. I had a guy from Mauritius, I had a guy from India. What do we need to take? Well, you can take anything you want as long as you've got the space, but it's, do you actually need all that stuff? So what I do is I take 3 pairs of socks. I take a medium-sized thickness pair, and I take 2 thin sets.
Okay.
And the reason I do that is I can wash them at the end of the day, and they're dry in the morning, which is great. And if they're not dry, they're still going on my feet anyway. If it's cold, for example, excuse me, up in the Arctic Circle, people are always worried about the cold. It's actually 18 degrees. It wasn't that cold at all. You can always put 2 pairs of socks on. I've got 3. I can put 3 pairs of socks on.
See,
socks.
I always take 2 or 3 pairs of ankle socks, because you've got to cater for when you're not on the bike. So I take, because they're really small, you know, like ankle socks, not the long ones.
Well, I just wear Crocs. I don't wear socks.
Well, yeah, but I wear them with my Crocs.
You're just weird. That's just not allowed.
It is totally the way to go. And Crocs are the best thing for your feet ever.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love them. I take a pair of Crocs, and that's all I take for my feet whenever we go away, other than my motorbike boots. But then I would take 1 pair of socks, because my feet never get cold. My boots are really good. So I only take 1 pair of socks for riding, but I take 2 spares.
Yeah.
Because sometimes at the end of the day, when you're washing them and it comes to leaving the hotel the next day, sometimes they're still a little bit damp, and you don't want to be worried about damp feet on the bike. So I would put them in a bag and then leave them to dry at the next hotel, because then I've got a spare pair to put on.
Excuse me.
If my feet ever did get cold, I've then got that other pair to put on as well.
I haven't got any worries about putting a pair of damp socks on.
Well, I've done it before, but it's not the nicest thing to do, is it? You know.
T-shirts. We're talking about T-shirts for the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and things like that. Okay, so I take 3 t-shirts. If you think about it, you're only wearing a t-shirt for probably 3 hours a night, something like 3 or 4 hours maximum, because you get into your hotel, you're going for a meal, you have a beer, you're going to bed. So you can wear a t-shirt for 3 or 4 days, you know, and so you don't get worried about it. If you take 3 t-shirts like I do, you can rotate them so people get not confused and go, yeah. The same t-shirt on every 3 nights. All right, you can do that. And just normal bog standard t-shirts, nothing flashy, nothing, you know, out of the way. I brought this one here as a RiderCamTV t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
You see, which you can get from our merch store.
Yeah, you can get from merch store.
Okay, we'll get into folding and how you do all that kind of stuff, I'm sure, because you have a way of doing it and I have a way of doing it, and they're different. So, 3 t-shirts. I take... Is that what you take?
Well, I take 3 t-shirts, and I always find that I haven't worn one. And for the simple reason is because some days on our tours and previous companies that we work with, you have days off in places that you stay. So I don't necessarily want to wear the same t-shirt every evening and then for a whole day if you're out sightseeing. So one of the t-shirts is always kept back for those days. So I've got one that just doesn't get really dirty, but there's always laundry services that you can use.
There is.
Everywhere. And you can also wash them at the end of the day if you wanted to in the sink in the hotel room.
So this is what I've worn these for years. These is a Rowan shirt. Right, they're quite expensive, but this is donkey's years old already. Okay, these are amazing. They don't smell. You can wear them for days and days and days. They're always nice and airy. It doesn't matter if it's creased, you know, it folds down into next to nothing, you know, like that. But you wash it and it's dry within about 2 hours. So I always, if I'm not taking t-shirts, I take 2 of these. So I bin my t-shirts and just take 2 of these shirts, and they sort me out really well. So Rowan shirts.
I always take a puffer jacket. Now I've got a Navala Rucker jacket that comes with the insides, but before I had it, I would take a down jacket that folds down to nothing, and that would be in my bag. It also added, if I was cold, I could put it on underneath my motorcycle jacket, but it did for every evening and every day that I needed something to wear as a jacket. I didn't take any waterproof jacket or anything.
Or if you're not going to take a puffer jacket, one sweatshirt, gilet, hoodie, whatever.
Although I tend to take that down jacket more than a hoodie, because a hoodie's really comfortable, but you'd be amazed at the amount of space needed to pack a hoodie.
Yeah. So down jackets are great, because what we're ultimately looking at is we're taking stuff that we're going to be able to utilise throughout the whole tour. So we really recommend you use a layering system, and if you get a cold snap or you think your suit's not working very well, it's going to rain through or wet out, whatever, if you put more layers on underneath, thin layers, then you'll stay warm. But a puffer jacket is great underneath motorbiking kit. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, really good.
Do you want me to go through the rest of my stuff?
Yeah, okay.
Here's my... Okay, so as a base layer, you've got your Helly Hansen.
And this is just for example, you know, we both started wearing those, but
I've worn these for years. They're amazing.
Well, they were, but I find that they're not as good as they used to be. They're very thin and not so warm. In the hot countries, they're brilliant.
Excellent.
But they're not very good for cold at all.
So what happens with it, this is a wicking top. So basically this takes the sweat, if you're in a hot country, which is what we're thinking about, it takes the sweat away from your body so you don't feel wet and clammy, you know, and this dries like that when you wash it at night. Get in the shower when you first get to your hotel, wash it in the shower, stamp it.
Almost shake it on the balcony and it's dry.
Yeah, and it's dry. So amazing. This is a Halverson's mesh vest, which I wear. I've got the underwear, the leggings as well. And on a hot country, this is all I wear underneath my motorbiking kit.
I'm glad you said underneath. I'm glad you said underneath your motorcycle kit, because I had visions of you going out in town wearing that and people seeing through.
So this is the same as a Helly Hansen. It's a mesh, a wicking stuff, but the mesh is a bit bigger, so you really don't feel hot and sweaty at all. And again, this dries within seconds. So thinking about layering system again, I have this.
That's a very warm top, that one, isn't it?
This is a Harley Hansen zip up, what do they call them? Quarter zip neck thing anyway.
Dunno,
So
neck
that's
zip.
all it does. These are about 80 quid.
It's insane, isn't it?
No, I wouldn't pay 80 quid for it because I bought 2 of these in a sale and I think I got both of them for about 25 quid.
Wow.
Brilliant wicking stuff, but if it's a bit chippy, you can wear this over the top of your Halverson's mesh or whatever. You know, it works amazing. They're very, very easy to clean. But you can go to a website called Military First. This is exactly the same thing. A 3/4.
It just hasn't got Helly Hansen printed on it.
It hasn't got Helly Hansen written on it. In fact, it's called Viper, which is written there. And this was 15 quid.
Yeah.
It does exactly the same.
See, and I wear AWDIS. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. That's just their logo. I think it's just their... No, is it all weather or something like that? So, but I've got one on here, a grey one, and it's like £13. Long sleeved, and it's really good in the hot weather. Wicks away the heating, wicks away your sweat and stuff. But in the cold, it's also very good, especially if you're riding around the UK and stuff, and to layer up. So I'll wear this and then my rucker down jacket and then the rucker jacket on top, and I'm toasty.
So what we're saying is you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can spend 80 quid if you want to on a Helly Hansen. You'd be very happy with it.
Oh, what about your RST?
But you don't need it. However,
These are incredible.
all winter, this is what I use. I don't wear anything underneath it. I just wear this. It's an RST windstopper fleece, I think they call it.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's a bit weird that the neck zips up at the side.
I quite like that because you don't have that constant load of stuff underneath here with your chin strap and all your wrappings of everything.
So it has quite a high neck.
Wind block, it's called.
Wind block, there you go. The wind block system is in there, and this is worn next to my skin in the winter, and it's not cold at all. You're very toasty.
Yeah.
Within
In fact,
a few minutes.
sometimes even in the coldest of weathers that I've ridden, I found myself sweating in that. It's that good.
Yeah. So I got this from Sports Bike Shop, and I think they were about 45 quid.
Something like that. You need to go size up, and that size up will be a snug fit, and you need to have a snug fit.
It has to be close to your body, yeah. But this is absolutely bomb-proof. I wear just this in the winter underneath my motorcycle suit in case you were just going to...
What, the Klim one?
My Klim suit, yeah, because they are cold
Very
suits.
nice suit. Very nice suit. Right.
Hang on.
So before you do that, because we're still talking about clothes.
Right.
The way that I pack my stuff now, I'm really anal about it because on Barney, if I'm taking Barney on a tour, I only have 20 litres for Crocs and clothes. The other side is laptop and a bit of extra stuff, and then the top, the top box is very small. That's for all the kit that I've got here. So
what we're saying is, as a guide, you're carrying a bit more extra kit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to limit our space.
even more.
If you're not carrying laptops and all the rest of it, and you've got more space.
Yeah.
haven't you?
See, what I do is I roll everything up because it all fits neatly in the bags as you're folding them over. So think about the BMW bags that I've got for the RT Panniers. They open like that. And there's a compartment on the top that's a little bit thinner than the main one. So I line them all up. But I also take my iPad and I take my laptop in a separate pannier. But when I layer them like that, when I roll them, it gives me a firm base. From the outside of the pannier is here, then that's there. Then this is under the mesh that's zipped up, and that's going against all the other clothes. So it's protecting that if anything happens as well.
So you're either a roller or a folder. I'm a folder. But I also, it's the same thing, isn't it? You know, it takes up the same.
Yeah.
You know, you have a couple of T-shirts. I don't fold them like this, but you have a couple of T-shirts, and I put my iPad on top. My laptop is in a protective bag anyway, but I always put that against the side of the pannier for protection. But yeah,
And socks. With socks.
are they odd? They
No,
might be odd
I'm
socks.
really anal about how I do my socks when I go on tour. I always fold them over so that they make a nice little rectangle. Seems really strange, but when you've got a square pannier and you need to fit them in, that gives so much protection on the bottom for everything else, but these don't need any protection, but they're easy to squish. Lots of people just fold them over and they make this big thing where you can make them really small.
So we get down the shoes now for nighttime shoes.
Crocs.
We wear our Crocs, but if you're taking extra stuff like that,
Stuff it in.
Things like this will fold down and squeeze inside a Croc.
Yeah, because Crocs are really big. Any shoe that you wear is really big, and you'll find that when you're packing, those shoes take up the majority of the space in the pannier, don't they?
Yeah.
Because of the height coming up to the front of your shin, I don't know, top of your foot. So use the shoe to stuff stuff in, because otherwise it's a wasted gap. I sometimes put AirPods in there and electronics and stuff that need to be protected and stuff like that.
So here's my bag, if you want. This is my Boomot pannier bag. This is for the big pannier. And when I put my Crocs in, I always put them at the bottom first.
Yeah.
So they're facing towards each other and fill up all the gaps in between. But that's my big bag.
And what I like about these bags is you can unzip and you can actually sit that on your bed and stack it all up and then wrap that up and around it.
Yeah.
Really good bags there.
I also carry little bags like this, handy waterproof bags if you're going to put valuables in, money or cash or something like that, or store it, hide it. Never keep your money in one place.
No, distribute it.
That's my big pannier bag, and my other pannier bag is a lot smaller because of the exhaust on the BMW. Obviously, you've got BMW GSA, has a cutout, and this is the bag I use for my computer and stuff like that.
And it's all about keeping the weight even as well, because when you're out touring, even though you've only got a few bits of clothes, a few bits of tech, the weight is very different to what you usually ride with. So, another top tip is go out and practice. Fill your bike up with all the stuff you're going to go out on tour and go out and see how it feels. The boxes, with the top box on the GSA, I took the Boomot boxes and loaded them all up, and I've never felt like the bike was so unstable because it felt back heavy. Because you can just stuff so much stuff in there. And what I also do when I'm packing my bag, all the tours that I've done, or most of them that I've done, and the ones that we'll be doing with RiderCamTVtours.com, go from Plymouth to Santander on the ferry. So you need to be able to work out what you need for the ferry. So I always pack all of the... So I leave, just before I leave home, I've organised what I want to pack. So I put it all out on the bed, all the clothes, then I reduce it by another 25%, look at what I've got and reduce it by 25% again, and end up with what we've just told you that we take. Pack it in the bag, but then think, I need my wash kit, I need a pair of shorts, because I take a pair of shorts, I don't ever take any trousers,
No,
a pair of shorts, and I only take one pair of shorts now, because really what's the point? I've taken 2 pairs before and never worn the other one. You need a t-shirt, your down jacket, wherever that might be, obviously your wallet and all your passport and stuff, but all the things you might need for the ferry, because that means that when I get onto the ferry and they strap the bike down, I open one pannier, take the bag out, lock the pannier, and then disappear up to the room, and I know that I've got everything, because it's really difficult on the ferry to organise stuff. I don't leave my helmet on the bike unless I can fit it into a pannier. So if I've got the new RT Alvin, I'll put the helmet in the pannier and take my headset in and charge it. If I've got Barney, then I'll take the helmet to the room, because there's nowhere, I don't want it rolling off. And
you don't know if somebody's knocked it and bashed it.
Yeah, and not knocking anybody, we're all a great community of people that help each other because we've got bikes. But it's a free-for-all when you go down to the Pont Avon at the bottom on the way off. People are banging into your bikes, walking past, not meaning to, but there's no space in between. It's so difficult, and it just takes that helmet being knocked off and cracked, and that ruins your whole tour, doesn't it?
It does.
So what equipment do we take?
Just put the laundry away.
No?
Well, before we get onto that...
This isn't going to get into like bondage or anything, is it? This is quite clean, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
However, a washing line. You buy these from some places like Mountain Equipment Store, things like that. I think it was about £5. Okay, it stretches out. If you can't hang anything up on a coat hanger or something in your room to dry, a washing line, it's easy. You don't need pegs, because all you do is you pull the rope apart and shove your whatever it is, your sock through there, and then as it's pulled tight, it holds it tight. But that will stretch the length of a bath.
Yeah.
So it'll drip. I've been lucky enough on my Norwegian tours to stay in hotels where they've got heated floors in the bathroom, which is amazing. When you've finished your showering and all the rest of it, just lay your kit out on the floor to dry. But a couple of quid, well worth it. Now,
and while you're talking about that,
I am.
The end of the day, so we've talked about what we take for clothes. Most of the day you've got motorbike boots on, motorbike trousers, motorbike jacket, motorbike helmet, motorbike gloves, and your wicking top or whatever. So at the end of the day, as soon as I get into the hotel, it's make sure all the clients are booked in, obviously, but when it's my time to go out and sort myself out, up to the room, shower's on, I'm in the shower, but what I do is I use the shampoo and the body gel and all that sort of stuff that they provide in the hotel to wash the wicking top, pants and socks.
While you're wearing it?
Yeah,
why
well,
not?
While I'm wearing it.
Oh, why not?
With the same shower water, wring it all out, hang it up, sort yourself out, go out. By the time you come back ready to go in the morning, it's predominantly dry, and that's why I always take spares of everything that I've got, but only one spare of everything. So next day, because we have been to some places that the weather's been totally opposite to what it should be, everything's damp. You don't want to put a wet t-shirt on that's wringing, so I put it in a plastic bag and put the clean one on and dry it. But there are always hairdryers at these hotels, and they're great for socks.
Yeah.
Brilliant for socks. So anyway, so you've got that for your drying.
Yep.
First aid kit, essential.
Always take a first aid.
Essential. Little things like paracetamol, ibuprofen. So if you're going to places like Spain and Portugal, France, you can still get them, but you have to go to specific pharmacies to be able to get them, and they're really quite expensive, whereas they're like 20p in Lidl's. So I always take a couple of blister packs of ibuprofen and paracetamols, because you never know. It's a standard first aid kit. It's got scissors, eye wash, a few plasters if you get cuts. There's nothing extremely major in there. It's just a few bits.
Always look through my first aid kit, because there is some stuff you don't need in there. And what I actually do is, as a guide, because we've had people who've had accidents and things like that, I always buy a little plastic skin spray, for little cuts. Take plasters as well, but the plastic skin is brilliant. It just stays on there and stops infections and things like that. But I also put 3 or 4 triangular bandages.
Oh yeah, I got them on there.
Triangular bandages are amazing. Yeah. All right, you can have all these little bandages and all the rest of the stuff.
Triangular bandages you can use for anything.
You can make a sling out of it. You can roll it up and shove it in a hole. Amazing bits of kit. So I always take 3 or 4 triangular bandages, and I can afford to bin some of the other stuff you don't need there.
Now, while we're talking about first aid kit, first aid for the bike.
Yep.
So it's legislation in much of Europe to have a set of spare bulbs on you. So I've never ever been stopped by the police and asked to see this.
Which is weird, because they're all LED bulbs.
Yeah. On Barney they're not. So the trouble is the law is an ass, isn't it? If the law says that you need an extra bulb kit, if you've got an LED headlight, just take a few extra bulbs, because you're complying with the law.
Yeah.
You can't use them, but you're complying with the law. And what I do is I've got a few different bulbs in there, like a bulb kit, and they're in my first aid kit, because you hope to never use any of this stuff. I've got a couple of bandages, like Mark said. I've got one of these mask things as well, these face shields for CPR and stuff. Eye wash, that sort of stuff, but nothing major, because there's always 112, isn't there?
Yeah.
And that's the emergency number for Europe.
On the similar vein to that, you need to carry, in some places, high-vis jackets.
Yeah.
And some people, for example, if you've got a Hellite vest on, you don't need to have a high-vis jacket, because it ticks all the boxes of high-vis. But if you ride predominantly in black, which I think is a bit silly anyway, you should have some form of high-vis. not because they can't see you during the day, but if it's getting dusk and you're still waiting at the side of the road for it to be recovered or whatever, you need to make sure people can see it. And now most motorcycle jackets tick all the boxes for the amount of high vis you should, reflective stuff you should have, but that does no good if people can't see you in daylight.
And you will get told to get off the road or put something on by the police if they see you. We were at a flat tyre, inner tube of a Africa Twin, I think it was, blew out on a corner. Everybody was all right, and we're stood there in 2 lanes of traffic, directing people into lane 2 because they were flying around the corner. A police car comes and just drives off, looks at you. Didn't even stop to help. We had 3 police vehicles drive past. In England, they'd been a major incident, wouldn't it? Yeah. So what else do we take? I always take, for BMW, a DIN to USB socket charger, just in case. Sometimes it's not about what we need as guides, it's about what other people have forgotten, because cables for your phones, some people have got so many different cables that some people forget. Having something like that means that they can charge it with your cable or their cable on your bike, but you're not giving very much away. I always take this really, really good, I think we did it was a Christmas stocking filler, wasn't it? Michelin tyre pump. It's battery operated, it gets charged up. You can buy it in Halfords in the UK. I think it was about 40 or 50 quid, if that. The battery, I've charged up once since I've had it, and I'm saying to Mark, because it's just got cold, I was checking the tyre presses and sorted all 4 of the tyres of my bikes out, and it's still got full charge.
That will pump a car tyre up to whatever the pressure it is, I think in about 2.5 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, and it's got lights, so, you've got to put that on as well, but there's a light on there. It's not very good, but at night it will be good enough. That's got the switch in it to turn it off and on. It's got adapters for different sizes, but this one's for your bike or your car. And it doesn't make an awful lot of noise, but more importantly, it doesn't take up very much space. So I always have that in its little case. And what I found was that on Barney and Alvin, because I don't want all this stuff in the panniers with my clothes and stuff and being taken in and out of hotels, I want it left on the bike. So under the hump on the 2 RTs I've got, electronically operated, is all the stuff that I hope I never need. So that is where this goes. And it's just in a ring, I think this is a car tyre inflator bag, and it just means that I can fit everything in it. So the other thing I've got is a Grand Pit Stop. You can get them anywhere. These are the little mushroom kits. You probably won't be able to see it, but the mushroom kits that you put into your tyre to fix them, and you get a handy little tool there to put them in and twist them and do all sorts of things. All for flat tyres. I've never had to use them.
Worth covering it in cling film like you have done, so you don't get the sticky bit.
Yeah, and always take the instructions, because these are the sort of things that you very rarely need. Very rarely need. So take the instructions so you know how to do it. But I wanted to take this kit just in case. It's got the screwdrivers and all that sort of stuff in there. Tyre pressure gauge so I can measure it, and tyre depth gauge so I can make sure that my tyres are legal. So that all goes in that nice little bag. And then, let's do this one first. Now, this is an awesome, awesome thing. It's about £10, if that, on Amazon for 2. It is basically a 9-volt battery, but on the end, it is an LED torch. So you've always got this tiny little torch, but it's got 2 settings, one for majorly bright and one for not so majorly bright, and one for off. And at night, this is a godsend. I just stuff it somewhere. Yeah.
While you're looking at it.
Yeah.
If you have to.
Well, I feel there.
There you go.
Kojak said that, didn't he? Right, and the other thing that I take in this bag is a Nocco Boost. And I've used this more times than I care to mention for people that have left their lights on the ferry, or left the ignition on when they're getting ready to get off the ferry for too long and the battery's flat. This is so simple. This plugs into this, those go onto the battery, you turn it on. If you need to, you press boost, you leave it for a couple of seconds, and it gives way more power to the bike to be able to start it.
This is the GB20, is it? Is what it says? CB20.
Yeah,
GB20. This will start a 6-cylinder diesel engine.
Apparently so. And it has got a torch. They're really quite bright as well. But it has got a USB in for your charging, but more importantly, it's got a USB out. So it's also doubles up as a external battery, so that you can charge stuff if you're camping. You haven't then got to find a power outlet, because this will charge loads of stuff. The battery in there is amazing. But I've always got that on me because you just never know. And I've used it a couple of times.
On my last tour, I had a guy who battery was dying on his bike, and I must have boosted it about 5 times on the tour. Never charged it up. It was just always there.
But that all fits in there just right.
Captain Tidy.
Well, and this is the other thing, isn't it? The most important thing about touring is knowing where stuff is. I always pack certain things on my right pannier, always certain things on my left pannier. So if ever I get to the ferry, I know which pannier to empty. Hotels, which pannier to empty. If I need tools, I can go straight to them. I haven't got to fumble around clothes. And I think that's fundamentally one of the things that people worry about is, where have I put this?
Oh, I've had people with, on like a GSA, they've had both panniers bursting. They've had bags on top of their panniers. They've had a double-sized top box bursting. One couple had a 1.7 litre kettle in there. And they've got tank bags as well. And they don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh.
Now, the other thing I do take sometimes, I haven't got one at the moment, is a very small stove.
Yep.
A bottle of water, because you can buy water anywhere, and a few packs of 3-in-1 or 2-in-1 coffees or whatever you want to buy from this country. They're in the pound shop for like £1, for several sachets. And sometimes on tour, you'll see the most amazing things and you want to stop at. And they're not always where the cafes are. And sometimes I've thought, especially when Steve, my mate, who was a support rider when I was working for the other company, we'd ride along and we'd stop and we'd have a cup of coffee in the middle of nowhere, which is just lovely. So I take that as well. But to charge my phone up, I take an Anker battery charger, and that sticks to the back of my phone with MagSafe, and it's got an outlet so you can charge other things. It also enables you, when you're charging your phone up, if I can get it off, to stand it up as well. So you can stick your phone on it, watch stuff on there whilst charging it up. That's really good.
How much is that?
About £30-40, something like that. But I find that really good because sometimes you've forgotten to charge your phone and you need it for the evening. Chucking that on the back, it's not a great deal of weight, and you know that you've got some charge. Charging things. Now, I only take this one and the next one because I've got a Cardo to charge up every night. My phone is on charge every night. What else do I need? The odd camera if I'm using it. That's about it. It's far...
Laptop, perhaps.
Laptop, perhaps. Far from the days where you'd have to charge about 1 million things, because what's the point in recording every mile you do on the bike, because nobody wants to see it. It's quite boring when you watch it back, isn't it? You never get the feeling about how it is when you're riding. So I always take one of those. And this is a Anker. It's IQ, whatever that means. Something about the technology of charging. But it means that I can change from the UK to Europe. And it's really quite simple. You just put it in. That's it. And the other one that I take is this one. This is a Ugreen 65 watt Nexode Pro. The reason I take this is because it's really small, and the MacBook Pro, if ever I've got to do any work for the businesses and stuff while I'm away, it gives enough charge to be able to charge that MacBook Pro up, because as you know, MacBook Pros and computers come with these massive bricks to charge them, and I haven't got the space, but that is tiny. And again,
that works as a booster as well, does it?
Yeah, well, it's got USB-C 2, USB-C 1. What C1 is for phones and laptops. You've got a USB-A there as well, so you can charge stuff as well as keep that MacBook up and running and charged. But you can use it in America, Europe, and England. So I always make sure that I've got all of those, because on some ferries that you'll take, they'll have the English electric socket. On some of them, they'll have the European one. So you've got to think about where you're going as to what you take. That's all I take to charge, and obviously USB-C cables, because everything I've got is USB-C. Now this is a bit of a curveball. Oh, I nearly always take an umbrella with me.
I've got one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel so silly now. The times that I've been in places where we haven't expected really bad weather and we've had really bad rain, and I've only got Crocs and shorts and a wicking top or a t-shirt and a jacket to go over the top, still going to get soaked. The amount of funny looks I've had when I've got off the bike and I've put that up, but it's better to be laughed at than being wet and soaked through when you're.
When I used to work abroad, I used to have one, and I always laughed at people when I saw them doing it initially. But if you're in a hot country and you're standing, say, for example, by the side of the road waiting for recovery, you ain't got a hat, you only got a hood or whatever, you put an umbrella up. That's what awesome people use them all over the world. Yeah,
and the other things that I take are a couple of pairs of gloves. One's obviously going to be on my hands all the time, because I'm using them, and I usually take summer gloves when I go away, but I take one pair of these for colder or wet gloves. I always take 2 pairs of gloves at least, because I've always got one pair on and then another pair depending on the weather, because I like the really, this is just a personal thing, I like the really thin summer gloves, and I'd love to wear them all year round, but I also hate the fact that if it's downpouring and you get off your bike and you take your gloves off, suddenly your hands are all dyed with the colour of the gloves, which is really quite embarrassing.
So now you're getting onto things like that. I've also seen people take 2 sets of motorcycle kit. You know, it's always a compromise.
It is.
You know, and so if you're going to take, for example, you wear your normal rucker kit, which is great everywhere, it's going to be quite hot in a hot country, so you need to have your wicking stuff with you.
Yeah.
If you're going to be wearing vented stuff, right from the get-go of your journey, you may find that if you're riding in England, you're going to have to put, is it Scott waterproof stuff?
Yeah, I've got one of those. And
a top and a bottom to keep the cold out, but again, layer up underneath.
Yeah.
It's important to do that, but I don't think you need to take a rucker set and a vented set on the tour, even the tours to the Arctic. However, I've had people who've done both. They've taken a full set of rucker and a full set of vented kit, and they've also had 2 helmets, and I had one guy who had 4 pairs of gloves.
Wow.
I don't know why. 2 pairs of shoes as well, motorcycle shoes.
Yeah, I think the fundamental thing about the kit that you take is nobody should ever have a go at you or tell you that what you're taking isn't appropriate for you, because you're taking it because you want it. What we do see is people taking an inordinate amount of stuff that they don't actually need and worrying about the stuff as if it's a third world country. If you've forgotten a t-shirt and you haven't got anything to wear, every day we would be passing through somewhere that you can stop and buy a t-shirt. In the evenings you can go out and go to the supermarket and buy something. I know that defeats the object of going away, because now you've got to look for something to wear for the evening, but we're not in the middle of Africa or somewhere where it's much harder to buy that sort of stuff, presumably. We're in countries where there are places to go, even though we don't spend an awful lot of time around there. But I think if you're thinking about going on a tour, and we'd love you to come with us anyway.
What, on RiderCamTV
tours?
Yeah,
on our launch tour.
Come with us.
But if you're thinking about going on tour, the one thing that you need to do is get used to being on your bike, and that sounds really stupid, because lots of people will be on their bike and they'll go from A to B for a coffee, they'll enjoy the ride, they'll spend all day out riding, but when you're touring, you might be touring for 7 or 8 days or 13 days for our launch tour or Spain and Portugal tour. Some of those days we've got 6, I can't remember, I can't get my maths right, but out of the 13 you might be riding for 9 of those days. They're not short days, but they're not long days, so you're on your bike all the time. So if your bike fit, you're used to riding for most of the day and going from one place to the next and then relaxing in the evening. That's the sort of place you need to be, isn't it? So you're comfortable with what you need to take. I think a lot of these people take a lot of stuff because, and I'm not knocking anybody, but perhaps some people that take lots and lots of different amounts of stuff is because they're not used to what they might need. And like you say, it's all about compromise. My rucker suits are amazing, but if you go to Africa in a rucker suit, you're going to boil. Your Klim, for me, Klim is very cold for me, and it's all about layering. If I wore Klim, I would be freezing cold, but in Africa, I would be just right. Mm-hmm. So it's all about knowing how your body reacts to different temperatures and weathers, what you like wearing, and getting used to layering up. And for a long time, I wouldn't layer up at all because I hated feeling like I was like this and being restricted. I certainly hated rucker because their collars were so high, it felt like they were stopping me actually moving my head. But once you actually start riding and ignoring this and getting used to it and making it do what your body needs it to do, in actual fact, it's not an issue. And that's part of the touring joy, is if you're used to what you're wearing, you haven't got to worry about what you're going to wear today. You haven't got to worry, what if it rains? Well, if it rains, I just stop and put my Scott jacket over the top of my mesh jacket, which is what I did on the last tour. If it gets cold, well, I need to take that off and put something else underneath, but now I'm still dry and I'm now warm. It's all about getting used to the compromise and knowing what the compromise you're prepared to make, I think, and pack accordingly.
Brilliant.
Don't you?
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. So our RiderCamTV tours link will be in the description, I think.
Of course it will, yeah.
And any links we may have to any of the equipment, if we feel we need to put it, will be in there. But we'd love to see you come on a RiderCamTV tour with us, because they're amazing. They are going to be amazing. And
well, we know they are, because the places that we're going, we have been many times, with different companies and on our own.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see you then, eh?
Sounds like a plan. But hopefully that gives you an idea of what to pack, or what we pack as guides, and what we don't worry about. And do you know what? If you get there and you think, well, I've forgotten that,
it's an adventure.
We can work around it. It's an adventure, isn't it? So we'll see you in the next video.